My plans change because things aren't run well. So I was delayed doing my laundry from yesterday to today, and now it's not even open. I'll pass by there again, but I mean, how do you find out? Like, if nobody wants to communicate that they're sick and they don't have a staff, and nobody wants to make an effort to put a sign on the door or put it on Facebook or whatever, right? People put minimum effort in their lives. And it's not just fast food like Tim Hortons or McDonald's or whatnot, where people are stuck in dead end jobs where they make daily multiple choices to give up their potential to be human and use the higher functions of their brains to stay in these dead end jobs. And let's say, flip a biscuit to the other side so it toasts on the other side, which you can do once maybe if the other side is twice. But to not have a fear or even a refusal to deviate from this when there is no common sense reason to, except maybe a fear which is irrational. And if a boss fires somebody for flipping through the other side when that's what the customer wants and will digest the food better, I mean, then that's the managers you deserve, right? But to be stuck in a dead-end job, and that includes like just people work in so many parks and rec or BC park operators that I've seen over the years everywhere, they just feel superior. I've been here for all these years, and so I can judge you in this way. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And they're in a dead-end job where there is no challenge to their minds. Their minds are dying from the first day they get these jobs for like 30, 40 years. And then they arrange for their friends or their loved ones, kids, to be also close to them and stuck in these dead-end jobs. So they pass on this devolution, and it accelerates because it reaches the points where managers or people that evaluate work or evaluate for a patron-centered or patient-centered or customer-centered or basic hygiene-centered, work practices, they devolve too, and they just are in these dead-end things, and they just keep devolving themselves as a species. And somehow they're pretty certain, because I'm so far from being like them, and they're the majority, they're pretty certain there's something wrong with me. And again, there's no grass is greener on the other side, people. And you see my demeanor here? Because I've developed the skills to adapt to your nonsense. But I should be like pulling my hands out, my hair out, and I should be on drugs and shaken big time or super depressed that this is the species I share DNA with, and it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse during the rest of my life and multiple generations after that, if ever there's a chance of a reversal. And if there is, but the conversations I'm having are forgotten or nobody else ever has them, then of course it'll be repeated again. Because you can't just evaluate the success of a species on a planet based on what they do with technology, such as, nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction or just pollutants from industry, which we failed at. But let's say we fix that, but we don't fix the other things I've been talking about, then you'll self-destruct in other ways. For example, you'll make choices where your intellectual laziness will continue to grow, your assumptions, your disconnection from reality because you believe your own assumptions. It is not just the odd person here and there, folks, that make assumptions quickly, and that becomes a reality, and they'll defend it as you present evidence within minutes that their assumption is wrong, because I can pick it up right away. Oh, what made you think this? Well, here's the evidence. And they're still defending their assumption, their disconnection from reality. This is like politicians, judges, millionaires, billionaires, your favorite celebrities. This is the majority of you. Do you really think that there's a reversal? And do you really think that things are going to get better? And do you really think that I believe you care about your kids and grandkids by not having these conversations and not doing your own work? Because every time you point the finger at a politician here or a public servant there, I point the finger at the majority, by the way, which of course I document I don't interact with the majority every day. I interact with people that form the majority, and the data is the same. So yes, I'm criticizing them, but it's real data. I can film you all the time if you want. Just give me the storage devices. So if you point the finger, but you never do the work yourselves, as the majority of the villains of history, our species have always been, as a majority, the villains of history. So if you read a history book and show the worst parts of our history, the picture should be everybody, not just this guy here did this, Hitler, or this guy here, Trump, or this guy here, Bibi, Netanyahu, or whatever. Or this scientist here gave us this, and then he kind of knew it was toxic, but, ka-ching. Or this petroleum company, CEO, or cigarette CEO, or pharmaceutical CEO. Again, I hear First Nations people talking about fossil fuel things, and they still have the biggest trucks outside, and they're having their conversation while the truck is running. And I say, hey, like me and my cat like are close to, and you're just with the door open talking to each other for the longest time with your truck running. Like, like the majority are the villains. So stop pointing your finger at somebody that's just receiving more benefits than you as a villain, but you're still a villain. You're still not able to prove to me that you care about your kids and grandkids. When I work with animals or work with kids, successes are great, and usually the feedback is great. And then suddenly there's a shift. There's a shift in the culture where maybe this is not a good fit for me, and I didn't do anything wrong. And I didn't attack their conscience or guilt, but they start having thoughts without letting me know about it that, how come I've been working with this kid so long and I haven't had these results? Or how come my kid wants to spend more time with this guy than me? Or my dog wants to spend more time with Martin than me? And then instead of learning what I do, again, the majority of the people are the villains. When your dog gets fed toxic food, that you buy the biggest, cheapest bag of things that's mostly corn and not really fit for dogs, and you leave it in a closet where there's a vent from the furnace, and that bag is months going bad, and that's what you keep giving your dog, and then you're okay that your veterinarian experiments on your dog with medicines that aren't really meant for dogs or meant for cats, just this, and you're willing to pay a lot of money, and then suddenly I don't get invited. I get a letter of reference for you how great I was with your dog and how you trust me with your property, but I don't get invited at the burial of your dog that suddenly became the dog he was always meant to be, that you loved more in the last couple months because he interacted with me and learned some life skills. Like the fact that this is you as a majority and that you still judge me, that I can laugh about it sometimes, I mean, it's discouraging. It's constant energy being put into 80% of fighting off anger towards you and sadness about your choices, but still being productive, still being there for you, still waiting for miracles I don't believe in, that one of you will step up and say, I want to do the work. I want to prove to Martin I care about my animal family members or my kids and grandkids generation, and I'll do the work. Still waiting for that miracle, for somebody to show up with that real genuine commitment.